the second vice president, and the third vice president. All other structures of our football remain intact. We don't want to disrupt. We are not going back into any normalization. This is going to be a rectification committee.
Having been here before, the minister was quick to highlight the new road being taken by the ministry, describing the move as a rectification process.
Article 14, Article part 3, 18.2, which has empowered the Minister of Youth and Sports to constitute upon the recommendation of the National Sports Council. We have identified the following people. Mr. Lamin Sane, who is Permanent Secretary number 2 at the Ministry of Local Government and Lands and Regional Administration. Mr. Famara Koli, Mrs. Hadis Hilanjai, Mr. Bajabi, and Mr. Malik Mbaye, for now, the 5-man committee. These members have the freedom to co-opt any person who can add value to their work.
The suspension of the 4 elected officials has all but cleared out any impending hurdle that stands in the way of the ministry in conducting further surgical actions. The Youth and Sports Minister did well to sidestep the issue surrounding the future of the technical director, but all indications point to a swift decision on the future occupant of that portfolio. It was a day when another storyline is added to what has been a very storied period in Gambian football, and when the dust settles on this particular announcement, attention will focus on the future role of the eminent personalities on the new list in helping redress some of the perennial problems dug in Gambian football. A new chapter has been opened. The scripting, though, remains an unfinished business. For Grts Sport, this is Babukar Senghor.
Well, that was the press conference on Wednesday when the minister presided over the suspension of the 4 GFF officials there. You have heard what the minister said. Now, should I bring you into task? Was it the right move?
If you ask me personally, I will say it was not the right move. If you ask me of my personal opinion, I will say it is not the right move. I have my reasons for saying that. I believe more consultations should have been done. 24 hours, notifying someone 24 hours to act on key decisions like that could be very tough, because these people, the president have the powers. He can exercise his powers and conferred on him by the Constitution. But also, he's been voted into office by people. And those consulting with those people would have, you could have given him, let's say, a 72-hour period to say, think about this and act on the recommendations we have given to you. Then he can call on his people and they discuss, consult the stakeholders that voted them into office, and then maybe they can come up with the final resolution to say, yeah, the people that these people have really recommended have failed us and they should go. You never know what could have happened if you have given them a grace period. But a grace period of 24 hours, to me, I think is too short. That's why I say, personally, I would say the move was not the best move.
Okay. Let's look at the handling of the whole situation. It all started when Liberia appealed. Subsequently, the Gambia was found wanting by CAF and suspended. Then all of a sudden, the National Sports Council came up with a press release, and then a task force committee was set up. You know, it all happened in a very hastily manner, in a very, very quick up to where we are today. How did you make of the whole handling of the situation from both the Football House and, of course, the National Sports Council?
I've been saying that these things could have been avoided. You remember when the minister was dissolving the first Gambia Football Association executive, he made mention of glorious moments that we've been celebrating, that we celebrated with, that we should not have been celebrating because we did it cheating age. So I think for the first instance, anyone who come into office should have avoided getting into those kind of problems. I always say, how can you use a league player who's played 5 league seasons to play under 17 or under 20 for you? When they were playing in the league, were they 14 years? Were they 11 years? It's not possible. So I think that could have been avoided for the first instance. When they were selecting the players, that could have been avoided. Again, when the team traveled, the reports we got from, when the task force was commissioned, the report we got was the match commissioner was there and advised them that this tournament is reserved for only players age 19 and below. That is players born 1990, 95, January 1st. If that had really happened, as is reported, people that were in Liberia should have avoided. Even if you will play with a 13-man squad, because you travel with 18-man squad, and out of the 18-man squad, maybe 5 of them are born 1994, you could have avoided that. If at all the reports emanating from Liberia were actually true. I think you could have risked to play with 13 players, to be sure that you are not going to be found wanting at the end of the day. When Liberia appealed, and subsequently, when I learned that Liberia appealed, I did a story on my blog and said Gambia could be suspended, because I read the rules and regulations, and it said if we are found wanting, we are going to be suspended for 3 years. Even if we mistakenly are found wanting in falsifying, in entering wrong ages of the players, we will still serve 3 years in all youth cup competitions. But here, why all teams are suspended is because we have been found. We have been accused of falsifying the ages of one certain player in Ali Sow. So a whole lot of things have been embedded in this. Where was this letter hiding until the executive are saying that they've not seen this letter?
There's a circular.
Gambians are fond of receiving a letter and putting it in a drawer and forgetting it there. You go to most of these institutions, you pass the letter to the secretary. What does he do? Just pick the letter, pull it and pull a drawer and put it in the drawer, and it lies down there. If this letter had been seen earlier before, and people actually laid their hands on this letter, did they read the content of the letter? If they know the content of the letter, when the team was being registered, why didn't it strike their mind to say, oh, I have read this letter, and the letter actually underlined for you, CAF wrote that letter and underlined that clause that said, remember that only players born 1995 have qualified to play in this championship. If you read it and you did not react when the team was being registered, something is wrong. Did you neglect your duties, or you did it deliberately, or you have forgotten? Letters should be filed where you can always revisit them. So, and then the task force was commissioned. What the task force was asked to do is to interview people. And after interviewing people, come up with recommendations and resolutions. And it's those recommendations and resolutions that are the reasons for us being here today, talking about the unforeseen circumstances we found ourselves in. Well, we are all going to leave this, aren't we?
Exactly. Let's look at the task force that was set up. It has, in some sections, come under criticism for the composition of the members of the task force, where some people believe that there are members in the task force who should also answer some questions to that.
Yeah, some of the members of the task force appeared before the task force. A task force committee that should have been 5 people, a 5-man committee, interviewing anyone who comes to that panel. At a point in time, 4 will be interviewing 1 person, because Marcel appeared before the task force, and he was part of the task force committee. So what were some of the questions that they asked him? Did they really push him to the corner? We were not there to ascertain. And the report came and showed that Marcel said he had really minuted this to pass away, and reminded, and in the minute said, remind me to discuss with the president. Remind me to discuss with the president. Did he remind him to discuss with the president? Did he also call on the president? Did he also call on the person he minuted it to say, I once gave you this. Did you? How far have you gone with it? So but people will tell you, I've done a vox pop on the task force committee, and people are varied, that the people in the task force are credible people. Now, if they are investigating